Who are we missing? Why am I counting wrong? Don Boynton, let's give him, I have 10 seconds. I'm going to give him his 10 seconds. Don was in my office today, so I know he's heading that way. Okay. Well, TV time. All right. Meeting is called to order at 6 o'clock. Please remain seated. Place your hand over your hearts for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We are being broadcast live on Van Buren Television, Channel 12, and on our YouTube channel. Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Frazier.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Boynton is somewhere.
Yeah, he said he might be a little bit late, so.
Treasurer Bud.
Here.
Clerk is present. Supervisor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to begin with an executive summary. We're going to have a consent agenda, which is pretty small today with the minutes and prepaid lists. We're also going to be forming a new law today, I anticipate, for a local littering ordinance. We're going to continue on to have a discussion on the building and grounds budget for the Belleville Area Museum and a grant that we obtained for that museum. And then we're going to discuss the community center proposal and the owner's representation services from Plant Moran Cressa for design services from Newman Smith. I'm going to ask that we also add in a discussion of Haggerty subs, a short discussion, and the reopening plan, and to put them into the presentation area. The reason being is because there's a chance that if we go to 7 o'clock, we can have Plant Moran in on the conversation, although we really don't need them right now. Okay, they're just they just can't make it till 7. All right. Can I get a motion from the revised agenda eliminating number 2 and 3? Who would like to make that?
Supervisor.
Sherry
I'd
Fraser.
like to make a, that we approve the agenda minus 2 and 3.
Support.
Okay, I got motion for the revised agenda, and I've got support, Fraser and Miller. Roll call, please, Mr. Wright, Clerk Wright.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Boynton is still missing. Trustee Frazier.
Yes.
Clerk is vote yes. Treasurer Bud.
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we move on to the adoption of the consent agenda. Trustee Martin, would you make the motion?
I move we adopt the consent agenda with the following items. Number 1, board meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2021. Number 2, prepaid list of March 4th, 2021. Number 3, prepaid list of March 11th, 2021. And item number 4, voucher list of March 16, 2021.
Support.
Okay, got a motion and I have support. Hearing no discussion, Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Boynton. Is he here yet? Trustee Frazier.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Treasurer Bud.
Yes.
Yes for me. Supervisor.
Yes.
Passes also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, announcements, and then we're going to do presentations, which will be the sidewalks and the reopening ideas, thoughts. I'd like to start off by saying, first of all, the Forgotten Harvest is still a hit. and remind people that the pantry is still going on Tuesdays at 2:00. Come on over to the Community Service Hall. There's no sign up for this thing. I mean, we pretty much take your word for it. If you're hurting, we want to make sure you're taken care of. Pop your trunks, keep them cleaned out, because we don't even, you don't even get out of your car. We fill your car up with the food that you need. If you've got somebody that can't get here, a senior citizen, somebody, you can come up and pick up the food and take that back to them. I know that I see the treasurer's got a couple people she takes food to, and I take food to somebody. So, I mean, we're pretty open about that. We want to make sure the food gets out to the people. So if you're interested in volunteering, we can always use a couple volunteers, although we have an amazing volunteer staff. It's at 2:00 on Tuesdays. It goes about 2 hours. I also want to read this letter that Chief McAnally gave me. Dear sir, on behalf of my significant other Cheryl and myself, we would like to thank you and your department, especially the 2 firemen who came to their house on Wednesday early in the morning to free their Dachshund hound. They have a Dachshund hound whose name is Oscar Meyer.
That's a good one.
So Oscar Meyer, unbeknownst to her, climbed under a new power chair and got his leg and tail stuck in the mechanism. And the fireman came out, and one kept Oscar Meyer settled down, while the other one took the chair apart and got Oscar Meyer out of there. Everybody's doing fine, including Oscar Meyer. I did look it up, and that was Captain Floro and firefighter Bowman. So Meyer's freed up. Yeah. See, we've got that and that, and I'm going to end there. Does anybody else have any present announcements that they want to make?
I have a quick one. I just want to announce that the township offices will be closed on Friday, April 2nd for Good Friday. So,
Okay. I should add also that we have done vaccinations for 65 and older, and we amazing turnout. Well over 1,000, like 1,500 people got shots in the 4 cities. We worked together with Sumter, Belleville here on Township, and Van Buren. Our people made close to 4,000 phone calls to people over 65 to make sure they were taken care of. We are not going to be doing another site for people over 65. We have mined and called and social media and put ads in the newspapers. I don't think there are any more. If there are more, they're going to have to go to the CVS and the Myers. Our list is open though for 50 to 65. We expect them to reopen those groups starting next week when we get a notification that we will have vaccine provided for our group. We will contact them and confirm via email. We are not going to do the phone call systems anymore. The 50 to 65 are savvy enough technologically to handle our very easy to use website. So sign up. I mean, it's the Pfizer shot if you're wondering, although they have the right to change. And it went really well. I've got nothing but positive comments from people. All right.
Supervisor, the more people we get vaccinated, the quicker we get through this.
And that does bring something up. If you do confirm for a vaccine shot, well, there's plenty of vaccine out there. It's difficult getting it in the arm because there's just not enough slots for people. So either show up or cancel, but don't let your spot just sit there open. Okay. All right. I think I'd like to start off with the Haggerty sub/Van Buren Estates / presidential estates. I see it on the documentations on all different kinds. And I'd like to start by talking about that. I will say that we had 3 ideas. The first idea was leave it alone. The second idea was form a SAD or a tax entity, and then go in and fix all the sidewalks that needed fixing, and then spread the cost out evenly. And the third idea was the way every other township and city does it, whatever sidewalk was in front of your house is your responsibility. We will tell you that it needs to be changed. If they don't change it, then we will come in and change it and place it on as a cost against their tax bill over and prorated over 5 years. We have gotten 3 or 4 emails that of people that want the sidewalks fixed, but they don't want to be responsible for other people's sidewalks. So I will start it with that and let Matt kick it off and say what he has to say, and then let's start getting an idea of what you guys want to do. Matt.
Yes, so there's been significant questions regarding, let me just do this real quick. Kill this. I want to make sure that I don't lose you guys with my internet here, so let me just get rid of that. There's been significant questions from the public. One of the biggest questions that we've received is about trees and what happens if trees die. Well, if we cut the root systems. I've spoken with multiple communities and how they handle it. Most road jurisdictions take ownership of trees within the right of way. That in this case, it would be the county would be responsible for the trees in the county right of way, which would require a special permit or a provision. If the tree's located outside of the right of way and the root is damaging the sidewalk, there are many factors that could lead to that tree surviving and many factors that could lead to that tree dying. Roots perform a number of fundamental functions: absorption of water, transport of raw materials, keeping the tree alive, keeping it stable. They spread out underneath the sidewalk and usually outside of the sidewalk influence, but some tree species will cause that heaving. And during a short drive, you can note it through the Van Buren Estates Haggerty sub. You can see that a lot of these trees in the right of way have areas of heaving that look like the root mass has pushed up into the area. If a tree root is found to be the cause during a sidewalk assessment, that will be the cause that's labeled on the report. That tree root would then be cut and we'll be giving the homeowners instructions on how best to keep that tree alive. A lot of the things that can be done is fertilizing the tree throughout the following year, making sure it gets significant water. Depending on the tree species, you can remove up to 10 to 20% of the roots without causing the tree to pass away. And the fertilizer supplements will help those trees and areas. Sometimes though, the trees are old enough where any loss of the root mass could cause a problem. In this case, the tree would have to be replaced by the property owner because it's within the road right of way. So while there is a responsibility of the property owner to maintain that tree, and the township will do, if the township does do tree root removal as part of this to put the sidewalk in properly and safely, we'll also give as much guidance and help as we can to help the residents do the few little things they need to do to keep those trees alive. However, ultimately, the responsibility of the tree in the right of way and the trees on the private property are the responsibility of the property owner. One of the second questions that we got in the discussion was regarding the drainage tiles or drainage problems associated with the adjacent properties going toward the sidewalks and away from the sidewalks. While the sidewalk, as it's reinstalled, will be pitched properly to handle the flow of water, if there's broken drain tiles on the private property or a drainage problem on the private property, they'll be noted, and the engineers will try to provide some guidance to the private property owners, but ultimately that the poor drainage conditions or broken drain tiles are unfortunately the responsibility of the private property owner. But the township engineer and the contractor that we hire to do this work will provide some guidance to residents on how to fix those problems and give them some guidance. However, as part of the project, there's no intention to fix drain tiles or fix drainage channels unless it's underneath the area that will be working for the sidewalk. The final question that we had was mostly regarding how the township would fund this type of project and how people would pay. And ultimately, that's up to the Board of Trustees to decide if they decide to move forward with this project. The supervisor outlined 3 possible options. 1, do nothing. 2, form an SAD. And 3, bill the property owners based on how many slabs of sidewalk, and I use the word slab, but it's flags, how many flags of sidewalks that they need to replace. And that way, only the work that's being done on your property, you would be responsible for paying. This is the number one way that other communities do this type of work, and they do it in 2 different ways. The first way that they do this is they give the property owner the ability to find their own contractor and get their own price and pay the contractor directly. And they are given 90 days to do that. And if they come in and say, I'm going to do that, and the engineer goes out, double checks, make sure it's done, everything's good. If it's found that the work hasn't been done after the 60 or 90 days, or if the resident says, I'd rather take advantage of the pricing that's available through the township program, the township would go through, identify the sidewalk flags needing to be replaced, replace those slabs, and then an invoice would be given to the homeowner. And then the homeowner, in most communities, this is the process that they do. The invoice can either be paid within 60 days, or the resident can have it put onto the taxes over a 5-year period, however, and that period of time is up for the board to decide as well. The majority of communities do it that way, invoicing the homeowners to give them the ability to pay upfront and get the payment out of the way so that they don't have to pay it overtime, and still give them the option if they wish to pay overtime. The one concern that the township has is making sure they get their money back in a period of time that would allow for future other projects to be used with that funding. Unfortunately, as well as giving the residents a quick resolution by fronting the cash up front from the township. The Board of Trustees would allow the project to be completely done across the board for the reduced price, and we would be able to collect the funding in a reasonable period of time. The Public Services Office would defer the expertise of the Treasurer's Office and our accountants on the best way to set that up. But that's the basic questions that we've gotten, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions or concerns you have at this time.
Just one question from me. What is the cost of the oversight?
Oversight for the whole project.
For the one program, not multiple years, 1 year.
So for the $1.12 million project, if we did it all in one project, the project manager cost is approximately $78,000, which would equate to a person working 16 hours a week, handling all aspects of the project management. There's an additional $53,000 which adds up and covers a varying degrees of activity, including the field assessment, site visits, and reporting. And then there's also approximately $30,000 to $40,000 for construction admin, which when the contractor's out there, the engineer goes out and verifies that the sidewalk is put in correctly. There's other costs that go into the association design that I'm not talking about, and materials testing to make sure that the concrete isn't a concrete that will break down over time, that it's a high quality concrete. But $78,000 for project management, $53,000 for the field assessment and reporting, and then about another $40,000 for making sure it's done right by construction observation.
Okay, so, all right, so it's open. Sherry Frazier, trustee.
So these are pretty standard fees. I mean, they seem a little, on the high side to me, but, looking at sidewalks after they're done and getting 40,000, I don't know. Are these standard or?
So one of the things that we did in this project, compared to other projects that we bring estimates for you on. Rather than asking the contractor that's doing the estimate to give us their prices, we ask the contractor to go, our engineer in this case, Fishbeck, to go out and get the industry standard, what the average costs are. We also went and asked several concrete companies that do sidewalk replacement programs to give us their average costs for sidewalks so that we can give the best accurate information that we can to give you a general consensus number for what you can truly expect for a program of this size and scope. What we didn't do is ask a specific company to give us their price for this project and give you that. We gave you the industry standards so that you're getting what we believe is a fair assessment of what the cost would be, because the cost could be a little bit lower, the cost could be a little bit higher, but we feel that we've given you what the average cost in the region is.
I'm gonna get into that business.
Well, concrete work has, especially sidewalk work, has become extremely expensive over the last 2 years. The price of a flag of concrete has significantly increased over time. And one of the reasons is there are fewer and fewer companies that are interested in even doing this type of work. As the economy has gotten better and better, this type of work, this piecemeal sidewalk work, is not as desirable for a company to operate on because of the amount of time and effort it takes to do a sidewalk replacement program.
Okay, so the DDA put out to bid on a sidewalk replacement program, and they got bids from 300,000 to 220 and 250, and then a bid for 130. And the thought was, why was the guy so low? It turns out that there are some companies that specialize in sidewalks. You know, they've got the little 4-wheel drive gators and that move their cement, and they're just designed to do it. Now, are we big enough to bring in a company like that? I don't know. I would imagine if Haggerty Sub would be perfect for a company like that. So maybe we can get some pretty low costs, but we don't know that for sure.
And just to piggyback on the supervisor's answer, the project that was done by the DDA was doing large stretches of replacements, which is cheaper to do than just replace this, replace that, replace this, replace that, because of the nature of the staging that needs to take place for individual slab replacement versus long runs of sidewalk. So they actually got a slightly cheaper price for that type of work.
Are there any other questions? Because I could ask some more to drive more questions, but
Are there residents on?
what?
Do we have residents who are wanting to ask questions?
I don't know. Do we
At the
have one?
moment, we have no virtual hands raised and nothing in the chat.
Okay.
So one of the questions was going to be, so what would it cost us to self-perform? Would we just have to hire one person? I mean, like we've said, sidewalks are not rocket science. If we hired a person to work for a year, could they complete this job?
One person?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one person working 16 hours a week could do the project management.
Mm-hmm.
The survey work needing to be done, there's approximately, I think there's 200 off the top of my head, I believe there's 219,000 linear feet of sidewalk that needs to be looked at, entered into the system through CityWorks. Documents need to be developed for each of those things, and then design standards need to be put in place to create a log job, which is a set of standards for sidewalk replacement for various conditions. Hiring one person to do that work probably we'd have to find the right person, I guess. It's possible.
I think he could. Okay, so then the question becomes, would we pay for that person to do that work to help out the system, this area? So thoughts from the board? Let's call it $100,000.
I would think, through the chair, I would think that, we should be able to find somebody in Van Buren Township that has an interest in doing cement work.
So typically a
That's in the
township,
construction trades or,
yeah. Well, we would charge that. Okay. So typically a township or a city, it's got something on in the background. Okay. So typically a township or a city would start a sidewalk program and pay for the operation of the sidewalk program and then charge off the cost of the sidewalks to the homeowners. And that's what we would do if we had 100 subdivisions like this. We are blessed with wonderful homeowners associations that actually have personal responsibility and take care of this issue. Unfortunately, we do have one subdivision though that we've inherited that for 50 years nobody did anything about, and it needed to be done. And so I personally would feel that to get the township up to speed and probably go through the other communities that we are responsible for sidewalks for that need to be done, we would do them too, which I don't think there's very many of those. But I would guessing maybe 100 or 200 homes. But it would be my thought to add to that. Clerk Wright, are your hand up?
Yeah.
Sorry, you're off the side here.
I like your, I like the idea, what you said a minute ago, but I don't think one person can do it. But I would think that if you could find a small company of 2 or 3 people that could handle a job like this. I don't think that, well, I know the way to go is not to do the assessment because you're gonna have an issue. I wouldn't want to pay for nobody else's assessment either, especially if I got my sidewalk fixed. I understand exactly what they're saying. We're going through the same thing in this subdivision. Like you said, you do have some wonderful homeowners association that take care of their own sub. We're actually getting ready to do some sidewalk repair now. I had a guy in Saturday. He seemed like, I don't know how big he is, but he came by. He's interested in taking the job. So, but what we have to do is assess how many, what'd you say, Matt? Flags, what do you call them, flags?
Yeah,
We had to indicate how many, go through and mark every flag that need to be repaired, and he will come through and he's gonna give us a quote based on quantity prices, and we would bill each homeowner who has a flag that need to be repaired based on that home, based on the cost. That's the way we're looking at it as a proposal. The other side that we have that we can go after. If they don't want to do that, we're doing that to try to save them money. If they don't want to do that, we can just send them a letter and say, hey, you have 3 flags that need to be replaced. You got X amount of time to replace it. And they have to do it. If they don't do it, we send them a letter and start docking them based on that. That's the only platform that we have based on our bylaws that we can do, and it works. So, but we do things to try to save money for them, and that's one of the proposals that we're going to offer it next month at our semi-annual meeting. That, yeah, I know there are contractors out there that is willing to take on these kind of jobs, because I have one that's looking at ours. So,
What do they do? What does your contractor do, Clerk?
he's a concrete guy. He does concrete.
Does he go out there and mark the slabs that need to be replaced, or does he just?
No, we're gonna mark the slabs. He's gonna come in and walk the entire subdivision, and he's gonna give us a quote based on quantity. I'm thinking I know we need at least 100 slabs redone. Either they're cracked or crumbling, or especially in our 3rd phase, which is our newest phase. You would think the concrete back there would last longer, but the concrete in our 3rd phase is deteriorating worse.
Mhm.
So and it's like, it's just crumbling up. I don't know it had to be a bad mix or something, but it has to be replaced. So matter of fact, he was in Saturday and that's what he wanted us to do. Mark, flag the areas that need to be replaced. He would come through and walk and give us a quote based on how many flags that need to be replaced.
Who's deciding what needs to be replaced?
The association. We
Mhm.
have we go by the perimeters, depending on, I don't have my bylaws in front of us, but if the concrete is raised so high, I think it's an inch and a half, and it causes a hazard, and it needs to be repaired. If it's cracked, it needs to be repaired. If it's crumbling, it needs to be repaired. So we have all those things already put in our bylaws.
Okay. All right. Anybody else want to speak on this?
To the chair.
Yes, Trustee Martin.
Yeah, over the last week, I've had several emails from homeowners in Hagerty Sub, and they are totally against the special assessment district, as I am, and as I stated in the last meeting. I don't think it's fair for someone to have to pay for sidewalk repairs, and their sidewalk is not in repair. I don't think it's fair. And several homeowners have made that clear to me. And I have told them that I also don't agree with that. And I don't even know why we're talking about that. The other plans.
We can end that right now. I have not heard a single person that wants to do that either.
Well, I think we should stop talking about it and let's talk about something tangible in a real plan that will make for economical and equitable repair of the sidewalks.
Is there anyone in favor of a SAD and why?
Nope, it was thrown out there as an option, and obviously nobody liked it.
Throwback.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Trustee Martin. Yeah, I know you spoke out against it in the last meeting, and so did Treasurer Bud. I like it for only one reason. It forces everybody to get everybody's sidewalk done and spreads the wealth as much as possible. But on the other side,
if I've just spent $1,000 to repair my sidewalk in the last year or so, why are you going to charge me money to fix everybody else's sidewalks? That's not fair.
I agree.
In no way, shape, or form. I'm sorry.
I had, through the chair,
Trustee Miller.
I spoke with one of those residents and they said, well, if this is a township-wide program, why aren't you doing an SAD throughout the entire township?
That would be a curious question if we can even do that, but
good question.
Yeah.
Well, through the chair,
Trustee Martin.
as we discussed last time, there are several communities that are PRDs, which are planned residential developments, and they fall under a different jurisdiction than the county-owned streets. They're classified as detached subs, and their rules are, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but they have different rules that they must follow with their sidewalk and their street maintenance and things like that. So I know several of these, I know Walden Woods on Tyler Road is a PRD. That's the only one I know of off the top of my head.
Ours.
Well, through the chair, so is Country Walk, so's Country Pond, so's Mission Point. They're all PRDs. And I might be off with one or two of them, but I just to throw my 2 cents in, I agree with the latest thing I've heard as far as getting 1 or 2 or maybe 3 small companies that can handle this type of work. My only stipulation is that they use materials that are within code so that we're not going through this in another 5 or 10 years, or maybe even 15 years. Whatever formulation of concrete that they use, it's of the industry standard of today, and that is going to stand up for the next 15 or 20 years or so. So we're not talking about this again within 10 years or so. That's pretty much my my whole take on it. However many companies we have do it, 3, 4, 2, 1, fine. But as long as they use the materials that are going to be used and that they take care of any of the underground infrastructure, roots in the way, if there's drainage in the way, we move the drainage out of the way. Whatever needs to be corrected under the ground gets corrected, and we put down a material that's going to last 20, 25 years. And that's pretty much my whole thing to it.
Okay. All right, so, and yeah, Treasurer Bud, you are muted.
I think one of the biggest problem is walking through there is that the trees that the county planted in there have uprooted them. And I think they've also done damage to the sewer system because we have gone in and lined that sewer system in most of Haggerty. Some now I think we've completed a good whole share portion of that. So I think that we definitely would have to look about, I mean, I might take this same piece of property and put in a good sidewalk, but if there's that tree there, those are not big front yards for trees, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, so we are now down to the point where we are considering nothing, and we are considering doing this job with, doing this job and helping through the township or not helping. So let's talk about that for a second. Are we planning on helping them by providing the oversight?
Through the chair.
Trustee Martin.
And if I recall correctly, in the last meeting, there was a stipulation that the township was 50% liable for any type of trip and falls or accidents that may occur on these sidewalks. So I think the do nothing option is off the table also.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would recommend that we provide the $100,000 to $170,000 in oversight on the sidewalks. As far as though the actual sidewalk replacement, that cost can either be borne directly by the person hiring out their own stuff or by paying whatever contractor we find. But that would be my recommendation to you. Any thoughts?
Through the chair. Supervisor, if we're 50% liable, is the township going to put any money into this project because we are 50% liable? That was another question I had come up, and I said I'd mention it.
So what I am saying, what I just said was basically that we would probably put up to $170,000, but it would all be for the for the inspection, the signing up, the marking, the engineering.
Okay, so we wouldn't try and recoup those fees when we bill them, correct? That would be the township portion, our liabilities per se, our portion of that, correct?
Correct. I have Treasurer Bud, and then I have Matt Best, but Matt, you have something on that point?
Yes. So the point about the 50% liability, it's a difficult thing to explain, but I'm going to try to walk through it. The township is liable through the Supreme Court decision because we have a responsibility to make sure that there's public safe travel on sidewalks and for the public. The sidewalks are on private property. So the Supreme Court decision said that townships and cities must have property owners maintain those sidewalks. If they don't make the communities or make the private property owners maintain the sidewalks, then they are liable if something happens. And so that's why these sidewalk replacement programs are put in place, because the sidewalks are on private property. They are the responsibility of the private property owner adjacent to them to maintain. And when the Supreme Court said you are 50% liable if you don't make your property owners maintain the sidewalks, the community stepped up their replacement programs to make and assist residents to get the best prices, working in a group, and get those sidewalks repaired. So we're not liable for accidents accidents and things that happen on the sidewalks if we have a maintenance requirement in place. Just like the township also does not have a maintenance responsibility to those sidewalks. So when we talk about 50% liability, that is because of the Supreme Court case stating if you don't tell your private property owners to maintain the sidewalk, you haven't done your job and you are liable at 50% of the injury. And so in this instance, with this program, the ordinance saying that private property owners must maintain the sidewalk changes first. The program is put in place to assist private property owners to maintain their sidewalks, but the private property of the sidewalk is still the responsibility of the homeowner.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Okay, I got a question too.
I have Clerk Wright.
Is the,
Well, Trustee Boynton, I have Treasurer Bud and then Clerk Wright, and then I
oh,
can,
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
apologize.
and then Trustee Boynton. So Treasurer Bud,
Her,
You're
Sherry,
muted.
there you're on mute.
Somebody keeps muting it. I understand you said we don't have, I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Okay. If this year we were to send out notices to those property owners and said, this is what you need to do to get this done, and give them the notice that it would expect it to be done by next year, would it give them a time to recoup from whatever they've gone through COVID, so that in 22 they would be in better financial shape maybe to take care of those, rather than dumping them all on this year when everybody's been stretched pretty thin?
I don't know.
Yeah, neither.
Leon,
Clerk Wright, you're on mute.
you're on
Yeah,
mute.
my question is that, okay, so Hagerty Sup was built in when? 19 what, Jerry? Anybody have an idea when Hagerty Sup was
In the
built?
'70s, early '70s,
70s.
early
All right.
1970s.
So it was built in the early 70s with no homeowner association, no one to direct the homeowners to take care of their sidewalk. If I'm not mistaken, the township never put anything in place to direct homeowners to take care of their sidewalks. So we've gone, so many years without anything in place. And now we're saying it's a Supreme Court judgment that says that we're liable because we don't have anything in place. It looks like we might have some type of obligation to assist in getting the sidewalks repaired. I think this is my suggestion. The best option is to look at a small business to go in and give us a price of repairing these sidewalks, and then look at some different options based on, I know we might be getting some money coming back from MMRMA, who is our liability carrier, which I know we are this year. I don't know how much, but we will. It may be something to assist after we see a price to assist those homeowners in getting those pieces done. I don't think, I'm just being honest, I don't think if we send them a letter today or tomorrow saying to fix them, Sherry, it may be some people that will fix them and some that's capable of fixing them, but the ones that really need to be done, I don't think you would get anything done, because if it was going to happen, it would have happened already.
Okay, I'm gonna
I-
bring up. All
One
right,
question.
I'll keep it, I'll stay in line. Clerk Wright, do you have anything else to say? Because I kind of walked on you. You all set?
That's it.
I have Boynton and then I have Miller. No, Boynton, Fraser, Miller. Sorry.
No.
Okay. One question. Given the time in which the sub we're talking about was built, things do change over time. Has there been a change in where the property we're talking about actually lies? In other words, is there a general right of way through this sub? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Is the area that we're talking about in the general right of way?
No.
None of them are in the general right of way?
Some of the sidewalks at the corners are because they go inside the Wayne County right of way, but the majority of the sidewalks are on private property.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
are you set, Mr. Boynton?
Yeah, because my thinking was that if the sidewalks were in the general right of way, then I would think more so heavily toward the township and that 50% responsibility as far as the safety. That's still there, but it allows me to think a little bit more clearly as far as what I want to do. The sidewalks that we're talking about are not part of the general right of way. They're part of the private property, and therefore the owners have responsibility for that.
Okay, I've got Fraser and the Miller. Trustee Fraser.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this, that that we're saying the homeowner and the township is going to split the cost 50-50.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, you can say that, but I would go no.
I mean, I'm not clear on, so we're saying the homeowner has to do it all?
No, no. Okay, may I, Matt? Matt?
You're the supervisor.
Okay, I talk quicker than you do. But basically, you've got about $1.1 million in expected expenses on that entire 711 homes, okay? Of that 1.1 million, we are looking at picking up to $170,000. The rest of it will go to the homeowners that are affected. The anticipation at this time is about, well, we don't know. We have no idea what it's going to, yeah. So long story short is we're only going to pay about $170,000, which is a lot, to run the program, basically. Okay.
And then can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the homeowner is going to pay the rest?
Like they do in every other community in the state of Michigan.
Well, I'd be moving out. I'm just telling you.
Ohio, I'm sure too, but yeah.
Through the chair.
I don't like it.
Trustee Miller.
So, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all this and I'm thinking, how the heck did we end up with this under, what was it, correspondence, announcements, presentations, to have such a long, detailed discussion without community input? Now, those residents that came forward and had concerns, I told them this was not on tonight's agenda and that I would, I was sure that the township would put it out when it was. I assured them that I would also get back to them and let them know. But I think this is unfair to our residents to not have anyone present because they thought it wasn't going to be on tonight. If we were going to do such a detailed discussion where we're already making decisions on this, I feel it should have gone under unfinished business and it should have been on there a while ago, not just put it on today. So I think this is unfair to the residents. Thank you.
No problem. Now,
I agree.
You're not voting on anything today. We are going to have to put together the program and then bring it forward. And then, yes, we are going to have to somehow get it into their, to make sure they're okay.
Even so, the discussion is driven to a vote and a decision on what we're hearing. And I think that's unfair.
Okay.
I've said enough.
Through the chair.
Else want to go, Trustee Martin?
I think we need to, we've beleaguered this point a little too long for tonight's meeting. I think we should move on to our regular agenda.
Yes.
This is obviously something that's going to take a lot more research and due diligence before we can even bring forth a proposal. So I would suggest we move on with our meeting.
No problem. It's just, obviously the one thing we did decide is that we're not going to be looking at the SAD as a possible decision.
Again, yes, I understand. Okay. Let's move on.
The other thing, quite frankly, we were just kind of killing time a little bit because Bert Kosick wasn't here, and now I see he is here in the list. and we didn't want to get to the end of this thing before that.
We could have moved things around though.
We did.
That's-
This is moving things
We
around.
still can't, that was not the motive here.
So the last thing is, do you want to talk about reopening now, or we can wait? I'm, to some other day. Basically,
Wouldn't that be a new business?
well, we can move it anywhere. We don't even have to talk about it today because I see Bert Kosick is now here. And that's the last thing for the community center.
So you're saying reopening the township?
Well, I'm talking about June
No.
1st. But yeah, I know I've got seniors beating down the doors wanting to get in, and I'm not letting
Okay.
them in until
So
we're-
why don't we, so that wouldn't be under correspondence, announcements, or presentations. We could talk about that later on down the road.
Sure.
If we have someone that came in, why don't we put them next since they're on?
we can go through our normal thing. We don't have very much today,
All
So
right, let's keep going.
which is why we would have been through this agenda within 10 minutes otherwise. All right. Moving
Roll it.
forward, we have no unfinished business. Moving forward, we have new business. The first one would be discussion on and the second reading. So it's a very important reading. I need somebody to read this as a motion.
Supervisor, I make a motion to open the discussion on and to consider approval of the second final reading of ordinance 3-2-21, paren 1, local littering ordinance.
Support.
Okay. All right, this is the second reading. Basically,
Support.
Power, give it to us, please.
Good evening, Board. Thanks for having me here tonight. So as the supervisor said, this is the second reading of an ordinance that you first reviewed on March 2nd at your regular meeting. This builds on a lot of the language that's in state law from the 1994 Natural Resources Protection Act that makes an enforceable law against littering by individuals, which is distinct from other ordinances we already have on the books regarding the accumulation of debris on private property and nuisance violations. This is specifically for regulating littering by individuals. And the reason that we wanted to bring it forward again is to give local enforcement authority to our police department to enforce based on a local ordinance that we can take through our court system with our prosecutors so that it's a more localized approach and there's more flexibility on our end. And so there's a fairly standard enforcement structure behind this. And otherwise, the ordinance language is written very similarly to state law. It makes littering in road rights of way, in private and public property, and in the lake unlawful per local ordinance. And so we would recommend that you go ahead and take this second reading and adopt the ordinance. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Is there any questions? Hearing none. Clerk, would you like to call the roll for a new ordinance?
I will. Trustee Boyne? See you back?
Your mic is muted.
I'll come back to him. Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Barton?
Yes.
Treasurer Bud?
Yes,
Yes for me. Supervisor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Did you get Don Boynton?
Yeah, he came back.
Thank you. Okay. Number 2 is eliminated. Number 3 is eliminated.
Thank you.
Number 4, discussion on to consider approval of an amendment to the 2021 building and grounds budget for the Belleville Area Museum. Does anybody would like to make a motion for approval?
I make a motion for approval.
Okay. Second,
I support it if you tell me what we're doing.
sure, support doesn't have to. Okay. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. So we're here to consider approval of an amendment to the approved fiscal year 2021 building and grounds budget for the Belleville Area Museum's Makaka grant project, in addition to approval in order to move forward with developing construction documents for bidding. So Museum Director Katie Dallas, under the direction of the Belleville Area Historical Society, applied for a mini grant from the Michigan Council of Arts and Cultural Affairs. This was for a glass enclosure to connect the two separate BAM properties, which include the main structure, what we think of as the BAM, Old Historic Van Buren Township Hall, and also the archives that are stored in the decommissioned Van Buren Fire Station number 1. So the Historical Society approved the application on March 14th, 2019, and Makaka awarded the project $25,000 with a mandatory project completion date in September of this year. So the original cost estimate that was completed in 2018 for the project came in at around $108,100. Staff is requesting that $150,000 be transferred to Building and Grounds capital outlay account for the project. And we also request approval to move forward on developing construction documents for bid. The township, upon project completion, will be reimbursed $25,000 from Makaka. And the reason that we're asking for $150,000 instead of the estimate at $108,000 is because it was just that. It was a project estimate and it was completed in 2018, which was 3 years ago. So there's definitely going to probably be an increase in that estimate. We don't know how much that increase will be. So we're asking for 150, and whatever funds that we don't use, we could just transfer back from into fund balance.
Okay, I have Clerk Wright.
So this is the, so if I'm correct, we received a grant from Makaka, right? 25,000.
Correct.
And this is the project that we talked about a couple of years ago to attach the museum to the library. Correct?
Not
No.
to the library. It's the museum. I'm pulling up a rendering. Museum to the fire station.
I mean, the fire station, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The fire station.
Mhm.
That was my mistake.
Sorry.
Yeah, so right here, right?
So right
there
here,
at the,
enclosure.
okay.
Mhm.
And then there's some retrofitting things that need to be done to both the fire station and the BAM in order to connect those. And
Yeah, okay, I feel comfortable with supporting that.
pull up another rendering. 1 second. And also, just to be noted, the original proposal included the renovation of the garage doors. Since waiting for the grant to be approved, because I believe it was submitted a few times, we actually already replaced these garage doors at the BAM. So that will be removed from the project scope. Is there any other question?
Hearing no further questions, let's call the roll.
Okay, Trustee Miller?
No, and I need to say why. I think the amount for this is exorbitant. It's too high. I know that the grant was originally that she asked for was 50,000, and it was supposed to be a matching grant. And it's not, it's 25,000. And when I looked at the building and who would be using it, I just can't say yes to a possible $150,000. We don't know, could be even higher than that. So I think it's too much for, and I looked at how many people were using it, how many people would benefit from this. So my answer is no. Respectfully, but no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Continue.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Boyden?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Treasury Bud?
Yes.
Yes for me. Supervisor?
Yes.
Supervisor, if I could just say, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I thought once it's voted on,
Okay,
that
I
that
just
was the
wanted to
question was
comment.
called.
Okay, I'd like more accountability. That's all I want to say.
We can get it done for less. We can't lose.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. I expected we're going to get it done for less. I was surprised to see the numbers too, but I can't guarantee it. Moving on, number 5, discussion on and to consider approval of the community center proposal for owner representative services by Plant Moran and Newman Smith. Can I get a motion for the approval of this? Clerk Wright?
Through the chair.
Actually, Trustee Martin?
Oh,
Thanks,
I got
Trustee
it.
Martin.
I got Clerk Wright was raising.
I beat you to the punch on that.
Okay.
Evan.
Okay, you got it, sir.
Hey, I
It's all
ain't got
yours.
to be quick draw for that one.
I know. I was
I support.
surprised that both of you guys didn't jump on it before. I support by trustee.
I like to make the motion on and to consider approval of the community center proposal for owner representation services from Plant Moran Cresser and proposal for design service from Newman Smith.
Thank you.
Support.
Smith / everybody else, or Matt. Go ahead. Matt, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about this board action item, and hopefully I'll be able to get through this with you today, and get all your questions answered and move forward. As you're well aware, we're in the midst of deciding whether or not to move forward with a community center project at the township. One of the things that will help assist us in this process and to make sure that we have absolute transparency for the board is to present all the costs up front and a lot of the things that we can do early in order to help outline the project and get you the data you need to make a quality decision. We want to provide those things. We also want to make sure that we can get this project started in the spring of 2022, so it is completed in 2023. In order to do all those things, we have decided to bring to the attention of the board tonight 2 proposals. The first is a proposal for owner representation services, which is from our consultant, Plant Moran Cressa. And with us today to talk about and answer questions about that is Robert Stempian. And also a proposal for design services from Newman Smith, and Bert Kosak is here from Newman Smith to answer any questions about that. These proposals outline the project plan for the design, construction, and completion of a proposed community center. These proposals have been developed and submitted to give you, the Board of Trustees, the ability to look at these proposals in advance of making a decision whether or not to move forward on a community center project. Please note that these proposals are based on a $7.6 million estimated project cost, and if approved tonight, will be finalized into contracts to get our consultants working now on the preliminary design work and due diligence needed, and I'll talk about that, to get this project started in 2022. The proposed cost for owner representation services is $240,000, and the proposed cost for design services is $417,000. Specifically, in the Plant Moran Cressa project, the owner rep is the representative that makes sure the project runs smoothly from start to finish and defends the interests of the township in all matters of the project. Robert Stempian from Plant Moran Cressa will be filling that role. And in the packet, you'll see a large outline of the duties and necessary activities that he will take place over the course of the entire project for the $240,000 cost, which was paid at $10,000 a month. On the other side, design services, Newman Smith is doing a project it has the project costs of $417,000. And you might ask, that seems like a lot of money. But not only does that include the design services, but it includes oversight of the project during design, oversight of the project during construction, checking on the construction as it's going through to make sure it's built correctly, as well as filling out all the plans and specs that we would have a final record of what's in the building after we build it, which is one of the most important things that we need is an as-built, or as they call record drawings. So I would like to introduce Robert Sempian. We met him, I believe, last time, to talk a little bit about what an owner representative is and talk about what his proposal means for the township at this time. Robert?
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, board, for this opportunity. Just to give you some understanding of what we do and what we provide for municipalities. We act as your fiduciary. We look at projects in such a way that based on our experience from construction, architecture, accounting, making sure that you minimize your risk on these large programs. I know this is a very important engagement for the community. It's something that you've been looking forward to. And our role is to provide services to make sure that we can streamline this process, make sure we avoid risk, engage a construction manager to deliver the project, make sure that it's built according to plans and specifications. And also when the building's turned over, that it's commissioned appropriately to meet the design performance that you expect. So there, in the proposal, we outline our scope of responsibilities and how we assist Van Buren Township in this engagement. We expect this project to culminate over about a 24-month period. The first thing that you really need to do is start developing the construction documents and the design documentation for this program. Of course, there's always that interaction with the stakeholders to make sure that we're progressing in the right pathway and making sure your expectations are met. So our job is to look at packaging things, not only working with Bert, but also engaging a construction manager, looking at due diligence items that need to occur now so that we could get this into a good bid cycle. We're experiencing an uptick in material costs, so we have to be very mindful of escalation going forward. We understand that we're probably going to hit a heavy bidding period at the end of the year and the start of spring of next year. So we want to get bids in early if we can to get the best possible pricing on this project. So our job is to help orchestrate all of that and make sure that, like I mentioned before, we minimize our risk on the project.
Thank you. Now, I'd also like to introduce Bert Kosak again. And Bert will talk a little bit about what the design services contract entails, what their role is, and then I'll come back and wrap it up. So Bert, tell us about the design services contract.
Okay, so just real quickly, I've just added this up. I think there's sort of 7 general components that make up what we do. So it's the architecture, it's the interior design, which includes the selection and specification of materials, finishes, colors. We have structural engineering services that are built into this as well. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, engineering. So you've got locker rooms, toilet rooms, heating, cooling systems in the building. So those all need to be designed. And then we have Mark Russell makes up our team. I think you folks know him as a landscape architect because there are changes to the parking lot, some hardscape and other sorts of things that are being contemplated. So what architects do in this case, it's a little different because we're renovating an existing building. Sometimes the risk goes up a little bit because we're dealing with unknown conditions. So we've got that built into our fee structure. So we design, as you would expect an architect to do. We do, in the old days, they called them blueprints. Today we call them construction documents. So those are drawings and specifications. we review and work closely with the contractor to make sure that we're on budget and that, and then during the construction, as you said, Matt, we're there communicating on a regular basis and making sure what gets built is what we designed. And no surprises. So I agree with Robert. I think that's about a 24-month duration from beginning to end. If you hopefully you checked out our reputation when you retained us for the feasibility study early on, but I'm very proud to say that we're very good architects and engineers, and we work on our reputation, and I'm looking forward to a successful project so that you'll become a future reference for Newman Smith's next job.
Thank you, Bert. So as you understand, this, we know the community center project is yet to be approved to move forward. But moving forward with these two items now are really critical from the timing perspective. If the board decides not to move forward with the community center, both of these contracts can be canceled, and the work that's been done already would then be paid off, and the contract would then be canceled if the board decides not to move forward with the community center, or if there's some problem with the bonding or other issue. Secondly, a second piece that I wanted to talk about is this amount would be this $657,000, which would make up both contracts, would go into a new line item called Capital Outlay Community Center in the Parks and Recreation budget. This amount is actually part of the $7.2 million we've already discussed as part of the project cost. And so therefore, this is reimbursable from the bond. If we move forward with the bond, this amount would be reimbursed to the township, to the bond, once the bond is in place. So we're putting it into the capital outlay to spend it as an expenditure, and the bond would be the reimbursement for that work for this outlay item. The third item that I wanted to stress is that Bert Kosak and Newman Smith and Robert Stempian and Plant Moran Cressa weren't just selected from nowhere when we did this feasibility study. They are the best at what they do, and this is what they do. This size project, they deliver great product at great prices with happy people inside these buildings when they're done. They will be part of a project team consisting of myself, Elizabeth Renault, the Recreation Committee, as well as the project manager once that person is selected, our contractor, whoever the main contractor will be, as well as Mark Russell from Russell Design. So this is the largest project the township has done since the water tower, and we've taken every step to make sure we've gotten the best in the state to do this work. So with that, be happy to answer any of your questions that you have. Elizabeth, myself, Bert, and Robert are available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I got Wright and Martin by rule, and then Fraser. The Wright, you're first. Clerk?
I really don't have it. I mean, I think you guys to answer all the questions for me going forward. I'm all gung ho. I'm ready for this to get started. So I really don't have any additional questions at this time. So I'll let someone else take my time.
Trustee Martin and then Fraser.
I am so excited about this project. This is something I have been wanting for several years now, and to see it starting to come to fruition, I am ecstatic. I think that we need to move forward on this and get this thing going.
Okay. Trustee Fraser.
Well, I'm very pleased that we're dealing with such quality companies like Plant Moran Cressa and Design Services from Newman Smith. And I think they will do an outstanding job for us. And that it's something that we've been talking about for a long time, a community center, and it's about time we get it off the ground.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Trustee-
So I wanted to say that I had an extensive conversation today with Director Best over this, and he broke it down for me, because when I first looked at it, I was like, $657,000, holy cow. So, but when he broke it down and I got a complete picture of this, will be from start until the project's closed out. And this is, even though there will be a project manager on hand, the detail of the services being provided here was very detailed, and it's a lot of work. And most importantly, time is money here. So if we delay it, it's just going to cost us more money. So I thank Matt for Director Best for talking with me extensively over this. So I'm ready to vote.
Okay, is everybody else ready to vote?
Through the supervisor, I have one more thing I wanted to add before you vote to make sure everyone.
Yes. What do you got?
So the one thing I will say is their costs that they've projected in this are based on the 7.6 million estimate that they've worked with.
Said that.
If that cost goes up, I will be coming back to adjust their cost accordingly based on the percentages that they use to calculate their fees. So if the board decides during the design process to add a feature that costs more, or the final cost of the project goes up or down, we'll make some adjustments and bring those to the board for your approval.
One other question. When Bert was talking, he said it was factored in that we would be renovating an old building. What exactly do you mean by that? We're not taking the whole township hall and turning it into a rec center. So
I'll throw my 2 cents on that first. Some of the hallway in the existing facility, from where the senior offices are to the doorway before we get to the newly renovated area,
right,
will be reutilized, because as Bert has laid out in his initial assessment, the bones are there, the building is still good, we can utilize that space. And from their initial assessment, that's the best economical option for the township to move forward. Bert, you wanted to add to that?
No, I think you described it well. I don't remember what the split was, but I'd say generally half of it is and let me back up. At least based on the current program and feasibility study, it seemed like that's the right place for the building. So if you can accept that, then part of it seems to have value, as Matt said. So no reason to tear it down and rebuild if it has value. We need to dig deeper into that with our team to validate that. And then the other half is a completely new construction that abuts the existing south wing. So I hope I described that properly.
I just wanted our residents to understand. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
To the chair.
Trustee Frazier.
So you've taken into consideration parking and meeting the community's needs to visit this, right? The community center?
That's part of their whole process that we're about to go through to double check and verify that we have all the right numbers for all those things that we need. That's correct.
Because if we're building, a community center, we want to make sure that it's accessible to as many people as possible and that it is well used. That's what my hope is.
If you go to the next recreation committee meeting, you'll actually get to hear some of the programs that are potentially being planned for the new community center, and what type of space they'll utilize within that community center.
Okay, great.
And just to, we're almost done with our community involvement section of this. So if anybody's out in the community that wants to get their 2 cents on what they would like to see or not see, Please come forward. We want ideas. We want input. We've already gotten some great input, great ideas. So, anybody else? I have a motion by Clerk Wright, and I have support from Trustee Martin. Hearing no further discussion, Clerk, could you call the roll?
I will be glad to call the roll. Even though I didn't have any further questions, I would like to thank Robert and Bert for your fine work that you guys have done so far. I think you've done an outstanding job, as Matt Best has indicated. You brought forth what we asked you to do. And if anybody has followed my tenure here, as long as I've been clerk, this is something I've been, Trustee Bud, I've been advocating this for a long time. So I'm so happy to see it finally, hopefully, coming to fruition. And just ecstatic to be the first one to say yes. Clerk Wright votes yes. Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yep.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes, I'm glad to see it.
Trustee Miller?
Absolutely. How many years in the making?
Treasurer Bud?
Yeah, yes.
Supervisor?
Yes.
That's a unanimous yes. Bert, Robert?
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to working with your team.
Thank you, board.
It's been great.
We will get the contract signed and bring back to you the board action item on a community center soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Best.
Order the silver shovels.
And little hard hats.
Yeah.
That's what you guys want. We can,
Hey, we might as well do it right.
I have about 5 or 6 of those things from other buildings I've built, and I can tell you, I use them in my backyard to garden with now. The snow and
Oh, please.
I do. So, all right. Moving on, we have no reports, and the next item would be public comment. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment today?
There is no virtual hands, but there is something in the chat that I can read to you, Supervisor.
Yes.
So from a Stephen Dark, Darke, I would like to say thank you to every one of you for the terrific job you are all doing. The township seems to be improving day by day, and that is so incredible to see. For that reason, I would really enjoy seeing another State of the Township video. I'm excited to hear about our progress and see what potential projects there are to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay.
There's how many projects, Supervisor? 56 or 62?
Okay, we'll think about it. All right. Does the board have any comments? I do want to have a little small conversation about what we plan on doing as far as opening. And I'll give you my overall thoughts. President Biden says that we're going to be open for July 4th, that there's going to be enough people, the herd group is going to be done by July 1st. We have seniors that are fortunately vaccinated, and they're going in for their second shots. And they are starting to beat down the doors they want in. But my people in our building are not inoculated, vaccinated, so I can't allow that. So I want to put the hold up, but they're insisting on getting a date. I don't know what to tell them. I was thinking June 1st. We actually don't have to decide right now, but I'd like some thoughts from you guys.
Well, so through the chair, when will the board be going back into session?
I believe this is our last Zoom meeting. Unless somebody does something, this is our last Zoom meeting. And when you look at the legislature that is holding up $1 billion to school kids to say that they're not going to approve unless the governor gives up her emergency powers, they're the ones that have to approve us to go extend our Zoom meetings another month. That extension is not coming. So unless the county executives declares a state of emergency, it will not happen. We will be meeting in person.
And if they would do that, Supervisor, when? Couple of weeks?
If the county executive decides to declare it?
Yes.
Or if this, okay, well, I can answer both questions. If the state legislature decides to approve it, they're going to have to move on it this week, as in Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of this week. That's the timeline that the lobbyist I talked to said. If the county executive goes to approve it, he has right up to the last day to approve it. And they are meeting, I am told, on Thursday.
Okay, so I'd like to wait and see what that's gonna happen. I would like to give this some more thought about when the seniors can go back, so.
I'm good. Okay.
Okay.
I
But I'd like to
agree.
hear,
I agree.
Okay. I'm just trying to get as much questions as possible.
Through the chair. Supervisor, I think, I agree with him too. I think the closer it gets to that point, and when you mentioned June 1st, so I think you got a little bit of time to see what happens. I think that from what I see today going forward, hopefully vaccination is opening up to everybody, and the more people get vaccinated, then we can look more favorable. Let's bring them back. I know everybody ready to come back, and I know the seniors are ready, but the CDC is going to give us some more information. I'm seeing some regarding who can congregate with who. Everyone that's vaccinated can congregate with other people that's been vaccinated and stuff like that. So if all the seniors are vaccinated, they should be able to come back at some particular time. But I agree with Trustee Miller and Trustee Frazier. Maybe not right now, but maybe we can look at potentially something around June. And with that being said, I think back in 2016, you mentioned 62 project. 2016, when we first got started, I told you, I made a statement. I think I have it written down somewhere, that I thought the current board had the potential of doing some great things. But we're proving that if you put the major things with if we put politics aside and do what we are voted in office to do, you can achieve great things. And I think going forward, this is another board just elected. I think you have potential to do even better things if we do like we should and put politics aside and talk to each other like we should. I congratulate the current board, and going forward, I think we're going to do great things. I see that we have done great things in the last 4 years. This shows what you can do when you work together. And I take my hat off. If I had one on, I would take it off to you.
Leave it
to all
on.
of you, to all of you.
We are doing well. And I'm researching the 2016 audit right now, because believe it or not, people think that we're spending money like crazy, but we're not. We're actually saving money every single year, more than I think we had about 10 or 12 million in 2016, and we have considerably more than that now, thanks to Vistian. The Vistian problem is now really in our tail light. I mean, at least from taking us into insolvency and stuff like that. But we're doing very well. In fact, we're getting so much money that we're now having to go through a Plant Moran audit for federal government for COVID, not for COVID, but for all the federal money we've been getting, for the state money grant which we've been getting. We've been getting a lot of grants.
So we're being audited by the feds?
Yeah, kind of. Not the new firm McNamara. Yeah, but I mean, we're doing fantastic. We really are. Okay. At any rate, where were we at? Okay, so we didn't want to talk about that. Is there anybody else that wants to make any comments about life in general or whatever?
To the chair.
Yes, sir.
I am definitely part of the group that wants to reopen and get things back to normal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
However, I want to do it wisely.
Yeah.
I want to do it with my eyes open. After looking at the news and seeing all of our experts, the numbers are much better this year than what they were last year. Absolutely. However, they're still running high.
Yes.
Still running high. They're better than last year, but they're still running high. Last year we had, for discussion, 2,000 deaths a day. Now we're at 1,000 deaths a day or thereabouts. Okay, it's still too high. I think that waiting, as much as the seniors are beating down the doors to come in here, we need to have the staff that can adequately service them. So once we get the staff vaccinated up to a point where we can take care of our seniors adequately, then we'll open. I'm not saying we should not open. Yes, we should open, but we should open wisely.
Absolutely.
If that is June 1st, fine. If that's July 1st, fine. If we get an uptick and we have to push it to August, we push it to August. But we will do that collectively and we will do it wisely. That's the best way to approach this. Plain and simple.
Very good.
Very
To the
good. I
chair.
agree.
Treasurer
To the
Bud.
chair. Just another, just a casual note. The taxes have been balanced and they have been sent downtown. So we are no longer collecting taxes, as you know, but our role is down there. The Wayne County Treasurer doesn't have it on the boards yet. And we've had quite a few calls, people wanting to know that are delinquent, what they owe. And so far we've had to say, well, wait, call us in a couple days and we'll help you once they get his site up, but he has not got his site up yet. But I'm thankful for my staff, Sean, Kathy, and Jessica, who have done one great job of handling all of this through the season that we've had.
Okay. Trustee Miller.
So I know the board made a wise decision with making our township by appointment only with the residents. Will we continue? And that was to end at the end of March. We're going to reopen, I'm assuming, after that point. We haven't talked about that.
I believe that we are going to reopen the end of March the way we did before as a split shift.
Right.
We're splitting because we obviously if somebody gets COVID in here, we don't want to take out a whole department. So yeah.
But it will be open, not
public.
by appointment only, they can walk in.
I think from 10 to 3. We do need that hour in the morning when we're running split shifts like this, so that the clerks and everybody can balance their payroll or balance the cashiers, and they can get their work done unfettered by people at the counter.
All right, thank you.
Through the chair.
Trustee Frazier.
I'd just like to thank the residents for being patient and working with us and understanding that this is a tough fight, but we're all in it together and we all have to do our part. And as officials, we're trying to lead the township in the direction that will be safe for our residents. That's the important thing.
One quick note. I kudos. Second what Trustee Frazier just said. I just like to make a quick note to the public, whoever is listening, or whoever may listen in the days to come, to stay vigilant. Go get vaccinated. Go get vaccinated. Do your part as a citizen of this country. Get vaccinated. Support everyone else. Make sure that your neighbors are safe, your family is safe. You're looking at trustees on this screen. I know for a fact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is vaccinated. I can vouch for that myself. I know they are. And if we're fine, you're seeing us we're here, we're safe. We didn't, I don't know if anybody had any major reaction. I know I didn't. But my encouragement to everybody that hear my voice is to please go get vaccinated. And if you have any apprehensions, get the facts and stop looking at Facebook, Instagram, but listen to Dr. Fauci, the experts that really knows what's going on, and get the facts on what's going on with the vaccine and why you need to get vaccinated. Because my only thing I'm afraid of is the variants that's floating around out there.
Mhm.
And we still haven't heard that all of the vaccine are, safe against them. I know they're saying my Pfizer is pretty much doing a good job against the UK variant, and the J&J new one is good against the African and the UK variant, but still haven't heard all the proof about all three of them that's saying if these new mutations get going, that they can stop them. They don't have to go back and do a total booster or vaccination. That's what we want to try to stay away from. So still wear your mask in the crowd, get vaccinated, stay safe until, like the president said, until we can get to that point where we can all celebrate, hopefully in the backyard. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
I got support. Hearing nobody against it, we are adjourned. Thank
Good night,
you,
everyone.
everybody.
Stay safe, everyone.